People asked Reddit, what common sense is actually wrong? I've had to tell what feels like an infinite number of people that, in the event of a seizure, I'm epileptic. Do not try and shove your wallet in my mouth. 1. It will most likely break my jaw if you try. 2. I'm not gonna swallow my tongue, but I might bash my head in. Focus on that. 3. Yo wallet nasty AF. You wouldn't like my pleather ass pouch filled with G-string stripper papers in your mouth? Depends. What kind of strippers? When you see an emergency vehicle with sirens on behind you, you should always slow down and move to the lane or shoulder to your right. This is exactly what you should do on city roads, but on the highway, you should never brake for an emergency vehicle unless they are pulling you over or you are slowing for a stopped vehicle. Braking in front of an ambulance just slows them down and creates traffic jams. Maintain your speed and get your signal on and merge as soon as you can. And for God's sakes, stop slamming on your brakes to avoid a speeding ticket when you see a cop. Just take your lead foot off the gas and slow naturally. Driving with yaw is scary. If you know you're speeding when you see a cop, braking can tip them off because they see both your nosedive and your brake lights. People think it's common sense that if you jump into lava, you will sink. This is wrong. You can't sink in lava. Depending on what height you're at, you'll compress into it, but it will snap back and pop you back up. Similar to jumping on a trampoline but with less bounce. A very hot, on fire trampoline that will kill you. Fun fact, when you're onto lava, human bodies behave like cold bacon against a too hot poorly seasoned cast iron skillet. Imagine your bacon adhering to the hungry porous skillet and tearing itself to shreds. That's what your body would do as it bounced around haphazardly around the molten rock. You wouldn't be able to stand, sit, or even hold yourself up without more flesh adhering to the flowing rock. Great past tense usage of yeet. The harder you brush, the cleaner your teeth get. All you're gonna do is cause gum recession. Edit. I guess this is a good platform to share dental hygiene tips. Brush with a soft bristle brush for 2-3 minutes. Don't do side to side motion, make small circles on the surfaces of the teeth. Flick away from the gum line with short strokes, and vibrate the toothbrush near the gum line at a 45-degree angle from the tooth. Electric toothbrushes are great, they are less technique sensitive and you just hold it over a tooth for 5-10 seconds without back and forth motion. Don't stick your toothbrush near your toilet for obvious, yet never thought about, reasons. To minimize poop ingestion, stick it in a drawer or get a cover for your brush. I was 40 before my dentist told me to take it easy brushing my teeth. I thought it was normal having to replace a brush once a month. The recommended time is 3 months, but not because you wear it out. Just because that shit's nasty, a little rinse isn't gonna clean that toothbrush out after you use it. You hold your breath if you run out of air while scuba diving. Wrong, your lungs will explode as you'll float upwards with a lungful of air, and you probably will try to surface anyway, and the air inside them expands. The proper procedure is to scream all the way up to make sure your airways are open. Except you forgot about scuba diving 101. Don't effing dive alone. My regulator busted underwater once. I signaled my partner the out of air signal. He gave me his second regulator and we went up. Shit was as easy as when we did the exercises. Electricity flows from positive to negative. Wrong. Electrons are negatively charged. They flow from negative to positive. Oh, and you can't be electrocuted from a car battery. Even with wet sponges torture style. That people are good eyewitnesses. We aren't. Our perception of things sucks. We are prone to so many biases that we aren't even aware of. If I grade papers on an empty stomach, I will grade them lower than if I am not hungry. And I will never admit that to be true. Even though it is. I was told a story by my forensics teacher a few years ago. It's been some time since I've heard it, so some details are fuzzy. My forensics teacher was going out with friends one day. After a day at the mall, their car was only one of a few in the parking lot. It was late-ish at night, so they all hurried to the car. As they were about to drive away, a drunk guy came up to the car and pulled a gun on them. Keep in mind that they all saw the dude's face. They got away fine and reported the incident to the police. When asked to describe the perpetrator, All three of them gave a different description, despite the fact that they all saw the same guy, at the same time, from relatively the same angle. Human brains are weird. Now think about how many people are behind bars only based on eyewitness testimony. Just be honest with them. Not everyone appreciates honesty. Looking at you, Janice. I always feel like that's a tough one. On the one hand, you don't want a reputation for being a pathological liar. On the other, you should recognize that sometimes there's a fine line between being honest and being a jackass. When I worked in spectator event safety, we learned, sports stadia, that when an evacuation is happening, the safest place to go to is the playing field, as it is usually open air and therefore low risk if it is a fire evacuation. However, common sense takes over crowd dynamics and people try leaving the way they came in, from the other side of the building, so this common sense tray results in thousands of people flocking into burning buildings. An example of this was the Bradford City Stadium fire. A huge chunk of the crowd headed back into the burning stadium looking for exits despite open air, the pitch, being meters in front of them. Sometimes, planning and training can count against you. Look at the Piper Alpha disaster in the North Sea. They were trained to muster in the fireproof accommodation block and await rescue. The only people that survived broke training and jumped over the side. Edit. Of course they were trained to go to lifeboat stations. The fallback option they were trained in if they couldn't get to lifeboat stations was to muster below the helideck and await rescue. Pouring hot water on a car door lock to unfreeze it. Logically, this makes sense, right? Nope. Hot water actually freezes pretty damn fast, and if it comes in contact with glass, you're not gonna have a good time. If your door lock freezes, coat your key in hand sanitizer, stick it in the lock, slightly jiggle it for a couple minutes, and boom, you're in. If you've been stabbed or impaled by an object, for the love of God, leave it in. While that object is in your body, it's essentially plugging the leak. It could be puncturing a major vessel or organ. The second you remove it, that plug is gone, and you are going to bleed internally like crazy. Just seek medical help. Edit. Wow, my highest rated comment is about what to do if you've been stabbed. I'm so happy that my years of uni and tens of thousands of dollars debt are paying off. Screaming help when you're being attacked. People are way more likely to call for help investigate if you scream fire. Another tip from my self-defense teacher: if you end up in a dude's car and he turns out to be a psychopath, do some basic self-defense to, hopefully, incapacitate, grab the keys, take your shirt off, and flag down a car. I'm a girl, so this advice might not work for all y'all. People are way more likely to stop for a topless lady than a fully clothed one because a woman in her underwear on a road indicates that something is very wrong. Also, if someone points a gun at you and does the typical get in the car, do not get in the car. Your chance of survival is actually higher if you just run away. You don't need to wait 30 minutes before going swimming after eating. This was just invented by public pools to stop people bringing food into the water. Or by parents wanting to take a nap after lunch before having to keep an eye on their children again. My grandpa told a lie when I visited him and my grandma in Florida. He said that the Florida law was that you had to wait 3 hours before getting in the pool after eating, instead of the 30 minutes back home. He wanted a nap in the middle of the day. As a native Floridian, the least believable part of that lie is that Florida would regulate anything. That if a woman weighs the same as a duck, she's a witch. It's a common misconception. If you have a nosebleed, tipping your head back is a good way to get blood to run down into your mouth. Lean your head forward while putting pressure on the bleeding. Other people's blood always tastes much better anyway. Nope. Hold your head neutral and apply pressure. Also, who the hell came up with the common sense of squeezing the bony part of the nose? So many people come to the ER with ongoing nosebleeds pinching their nasal bones and look at me in utter disbelief when I tell them to pinch the soft part next time. A lot of people believe that the BC ad means before Christ after death. Well, hey, the first part actually does mean before Christ, so it would be common sense that the second part would be something in English, presumably having to do with the time after Jesus. So then, it has to mean after death, right? No. In stands for Anno Domini, which is Latin for in the year of the Lord. Really, if you think about it, before Christ after death thing doesn't even make sense on its face. There would have to be 30 unaccounted for years between 1 BC and 1 AD for that to be the case.